Oh, hey there, Wonder World. Dr. Liz here. We're going to be talking all about talking on live stages. So, as we get started today, you guys know 100 wonderful ways to get more and better clients. We really want to talk about how we can close clients. And so, of course, as an entrepreneur, it's very fun and very inspiring to think about being the kind of entrepreneur that gets on stages. So, let's talk a little bit today about not only, how we do that, but also, really thinking about like what the benefits of that are, right? Because yeah, we can get into the logistics of how to get on the stage and what stages to get on and all of the things, but we really want to think about the inspirational side of actually getting there, of actually taking action and getting on that stage. Let me just make sure we're going live in the right place because it kind of looks a little frozen on my end. So I'm not holding my breath. Let's go check and make sure. And as you guys hop on, I want to hear from you too. Have you ever thought about speaking on stage? What does speaking on stage like represent to you? What would it mean for you to be somebody who had that opportunity? So for me, hey Sam, oh good, I'm glad you commented so I can see you guys. You're here. I know it's working. Um, recently I got to go to a live event, and as a part of going to that event, it's been a little bit of a multi-year rollout of attending and kind of reflecting and refining and discovering what's going to be the best way to go to this event and make impact, have a great experience myself, but also ultimately, what's our goal when we go to an event, right? We want to, you got it, close clients, which is exactly what we're talking about today, right? 100 wonderful ways to close more and better clients means we want strategies for how to actually be able to close clients. And so let's talk about what kind of events, what kind of stages we want to be speaking on. Now, this is something where it's really got to be unique to who you are, right? You got to think about what you want. You got to think about who your audience is, how you inspire them, how you help them, all of the things. Okay. That's going to be really key in this. And so, for me, yeah, Dr. Liz, right? So I have a PhD in psychology. So anything psychology related, bingo, right? But also, I have a master's in occupational therapy, and I worked for years as an occupational therapist in practice with patients, right? So I have this great way of connecting with other OTs because that is my primary background. Just like Nicole was in bartending, I was an OT. So, there's a lot of different kinds of stages that I could potentially go and talk on because also I'm a mom, right? And I'm a homeschooling mom. So I could talk at homeschooling events, I could talk at mom events, I can talk at community events related to moms and homeschooling and bettering lives for our children or whatever, right? I could have the psychology application of talking to moms. But then there's also, being able to know that I could be doing community events as an occupational therapist, talking about safety and being able to there's this concept in OT called aging in place, where we are, helping people who are, moving into like the geriatric time frame in life, and we're helping them be able to age in place. So basically, they can keep aging, but they don't need to like decline and get worse, right? They stay in place and they continue to age and improve, even potentially if they're taking really great care of their health. And so there's a lot of different angles that I could be talking about on different kinds of stages. Then we could look at like conferences. We can look at, associations that are related to the things that we're interested in. So it's really looking at number one, like, do you want to talk on stages, right? And for some of us, this is like, yeah, I definitely want to. I see a lot of entrepreneurs out there that really want to. I also know that like from when I went to college, we used to have to do presentations in front of the class, and I mean, I was kind of neutral about it. Like I could do the presentation, it was fine. I can public speak pretty well, like it's fine, right? But I knew a lot of people in the class that were like petrified of just getting in front of, 19 other students and doing a presentation. It was terrifying for them. They were sweating and they had anxiety and they were getting like the heat rash, like the whole thing, right? And so I know that speaking on stages is something that isn't for everybody. And that's why there's all of these different opportunities on how you can close more and better clients, because this one may or may not be for you. You get to pick your own poison, right? But if you're someone who is interested in speaking on live stages, it's really getting in a little bit deeper here on why you want to do that, right? What is it about speaking on a public stage that's interesting to you? And, how do you find the places where you're going to do this, right? How do you discover which one is going to be the right one for you? So, as you're thinking this through, right, I suggest just brain dumping a list, right? Go brain dump a list of like all of the things that that are adjacent into what you deliver. So you got to look at your business and you got to think about, okay, like this is the result that I offer. So like for me personally, like I have multiple revenue streams, right? So I have a program called, hey, Nicole, I have a program called Path to Line Soul. And so this is specifically designed for high achieving moms that want to have more meaningful memories with their kids, right? They want to be able to be present with their kids, have fun with their kids, like really live the life that they desire to live with their children. But they're high achievers, so they're not going to sacrifice career goals, right? They're going to run that business. They're going to make a lot of money. They're going to climb the corporate ladder if they're working in that 9 to 5. They're going to continue to excel because choosing family and kids or being successful is not something that a high achiever is willing to sacrifice on either side. They want both. That's literally the point of being a high achiever, right? So I have that program, Path to Line Soul. So you can see how this brings in that angle of like homeschooling and mom, right? And also psychology, because so much of that program is rooted in psychology and also occupational therapy. I took pieces of what I learned in school as a psychologist and as a therapist, and I pulled them in and was able to put those pieces in place. Okay. But then I also, obviously, I'm here in Wonder World, right? And I've been in Wonder World since almost day one. When I joined Nonstop Notifications, jumped in and built my program, Path to Line Soul, inside of Nonstop. And so I've also been able to transition successfully from the field of OT, working as a traditional therapist, into being able to make money online, right? And so it's been over 4 years now of consistently making 10K. I mean, now it's more than 10K months, right? And so, I know that I can help other OTs learn how to use their interests and their skill sets within the field of occupational therapy. They can take that, what they've learned in school, and they can create a business with that. They can do it full time, they can do it as a side hustle. Either way, it gets to be extra income. And so when you're thinking for yourself, what did you used to do in the past, right? What's your history? What's your past? What's your business built on, right? How do you deliver the result that you have, right? The result that you're promising to people. How was that result created, right? How did you create that result for yourself? And how can you help other people get it? And how does all of this connect together? You know what I like to think about it as like, and I've always wanted to make one of these. One day I'm going to make one, and it's not going to be about a crime scene, okay? It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. But like, this is how my brain works. And so, when we're watching those TV shows, and they're like trying to like figure out like the mystery, and they're like trying to connect all the dots, and they have like the push pin board, right? And they got the pictures, and then they've got the string, and they connect all the dots together, right? Okay, I love that. I think it's fun. So it's like a mind map, right? And so think about how all of the pieces connect. This gives you inspiration for all of the different kinds of ways, all of the different kinds of stages that you could be speaking on, right? The truth is that there's no right or wrong. And we don't need to, hey, Barbara, if there's no, we need to, it has to be this path or it has to be that path. It can literally be anything that you want it to be, but it needs to be relatable, right? It needs to be relatable. And, it's interesting because I was getting ready to come on and do this training for you guys today, and I'm actually going to see if I can pull it up real quick. I don't know. I have a lot of DMs going on, guys. A lot of DMs. This is how client attraction works. We get DMs all the time. I don't know if I'll be able to find it that quickly, but I did get this DM, and it was somebody. Oh, here it is. Yeah. So I was invited to speak on stage because that's how alignment works, right? And I got this. It's about 21st century leadership, innovation, entrepreneurship, AI, and wellness. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that's incredible, right? Because obviously, like, that is a big part of like what I'm doing right now is like this innovative kind of entrepreneurship concept where I'm helping other OTs realize that they can use their skill sets in new and different kinds of ways. And so it's it's really powerful to think about what that looks like and really think about how we're able to become the kind of person who is having somebody reach out and invite us to speak on their stage. Just think about what it looks like to be able to create that kind of momentum and what kind of stages you belong on. Now, you could go out and we could do the legwork on this. We could go look some things up. Like I have a list of stages that I definitely would like to talk on one day, right? And one of those is at the AOTA conference. And so I'm going to be actually submitting an application. It's due here in the next like 30 days. I'm going to be working on the application pieces for that and getting that submitted. Now, will I get accepted the first time around? I mean, I don't know. I don't know how competitive this is. I don't know how long that will take to turn around and work, but it's an opportunity, right? And so the goal is that we create opportunities. We become aware of what we want, we create opportunities and take action on that, and it builds momentum. Because when we start to show the universe, hey, I'm interested in this thing, I'm looking at speaking on stages, I'm looking up all these opportunities to speak on stage. And as you're doing that, you are actually taking action on it. The universe is going to throw you some bones, right? Like getting that message in the DMs, right? It's just an extra stage that I have the opportunity to potentially speak on in the future. So I recommend looking at how your mind map board comes together. Where are all of the different places that you can speak? And really importantly, don't underestimate the value of speaking on a smaller stage. Okay. A lot of times we want to speak on these big stages in front of thousands of people. And we're like, yes, like I'm gonna be in front of 5,000 people. But it doesn't need to be that way. I want you to imagine walking into a room and there being 20 people sitting there and they're really attentive. They're really ready to listen to you. They want to hear what you have to say. They want to be inspired by you. And you want to think about how you're going to show up and inspire those 20 people. We want to think about this as a single person. Now, if one person out of those 20 came up to you after you spoke and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I have to know more, like, you know, can I work with you? What does that look like?" Imagine closing somebody into your signature offer. Does it make getting on that stage worth it, right? And the impact that you create, does it make it worth it? And so we get to really look at how we're coming up with where we're going to speak so that we're able to create the momentum of getting to where we want to go, of becoming the entrepreneur that gets the opportunities that we want to have to get to where we want to go. So I want you guys to really take this as this opportunity, because the very first step to speaking on stages is to really know what kind of stages you want to talk on, and how you would talk on them. Like, what are you going to talk about? What can you help people with? Because when you know those answers, you'll then be able to go in and you'll be able to create those kinds of connection points with the people that show up to listen to you speak. If you're trying to just be in theory, and this is, I mean, we got to call a spade here, okay? In entrepreneurship, there's a lot of like, I want to speak on stages and I'm going to make $1 million. And like, we talk about these big, lofty things that we're going to do. Now, I'm not saying that you can't do those things, and I'm not saying that those things don't happen for some people. The question is, what's the difference between all of the people that say it and some people that it actually happens for? And that, my friend, is action. That's taking action. You hear Nicole say it all the time, action takers get results. So are you the kind of person who actually moves the needle forward in this? And that means not just saying, I want to speak on stages, but actually doing the homework that I'm talking about right now, which is deciding what stages you want to talk on, right? Where are you going to talk? What kind of talks could you give? Like, really just exploring that a little bit more, because as you do that, you're going to be able to then discover, and you're opening the doors for the opportunities. And so, I want to kind of open it up for you guys to be able to ask questions in the chat and talk a little bit in the chat here. But, thinking about what kind of stages do you think, put it in the chat, that you would want to be talking on. For me, a big part of like my root in occupational therapy is definitely that I love the concept of wellness, of prevention. So much of our medical field is so focused on fixing problems after they've already happened. Like, we're already sick and now we're going to take all the medicine and do all the things to fix being sick. But what if we could be doing more to prevent the sickness from happening in the first place, right? What if we created more of that awareness, that momentum, so that we could be healthy? And so as we're doing that, it's looking at that side of things that opens a lot of doors for wellness, prevention, mental health. There's so many aspects of different kinds of places that I could go and speak at. So when we talk about smaller stages, remember I was talking about smaller stage, 20 people, right? This could be something as simple as, your own community and going into your own community and finding, events where and I don't know, this is probably like a US based thing, but like, we have things like, Rotary Club and all of these different places where they do like different luncheons and they sponsor different events. I spoke at a community event a couple years ago. The bank that my husband worked at, he was required to do like the community outreach at that bank. And as a part of community outreach, he had to join Rotary Club, and then every month they sponsored a luncheon. So they had lunch served, and people from the community come, and they always have a speaker. And so, like, I got to go and speak at that event at that point. I also got to speak at like a symposium, and at that symposium, I was really, in the OT field at the time. This is prior to my business being what it is today, but a lot of this is what produced what my business became today. I was talking about wellness, prevention, and feeding, and how, feeding is our primary occupation. And so I got to do a demonstration with different feeding equipment. And so, that was in a room of probably like 80 to 100 people. It was a good amount of people that were there that I spoke in front of. And so, it's being able to look for these different kind of out of the box opportunities and know that you're building momentum when you do that because you're learning from new experiences. So recently, 2 years ago, I went to the occupational therapy conference, but I went as somebody who attended, right? Which is a great way to learn a little bit more about the experience from the consumer side of a speaking event is to go to an event, right? So like this is great homework to like go find an event to go to, right? I mean, number one, oh my God, some of the speakers are so boring. It was terrible. It was like they might have a really great topic, but like trying to listen to them talk about it for an hour, I was like, oh my God, this is awful. So it's what we're talking about. How do we make it interesting? How do we create that kind of momentum? We actually talked about that a little bit yesterday in the nonstop call of like what kind of talks we would actually give and what how we design them to be interesting, right? Because we know that people, it's not what you talk about, it's not what you teach, it's how you make people feel when they're there. And so if you're boring me to death, I'm not really learning anything during your talk, right? So I know that there's a room for improvement and I don't want to do that. So me going and being a consumer at this event was an awesome opportunity because I get to experience what it looked like, what it felt like in that audience and the different types of experiences out there. So, you know, um that was one experience. And then this past year, Nicole and I went to the OT conference together. I'm sure you guys saw all our fun Alice in Wonderland pictures. And so as we were at the conference this year, we didn't go to the speaking events, but instead we created a booth. And the booth that we had was an opportunity for people to come into the booth and receive a card pull. So we, set this all up, had it part of the funnel where we could collect emails and all the things, right? And so obviously we want to find a way that like we're not just going to an event, but that we're actually generating some kind of revenue or of some sort on the other side. In this case, collecting emails, right? So we collected emails at this event and we had people come in and they got to have a card pull with me. So this isn't your like speaking on stages kind of energy necessarily, but kind of because it's a little bit more intimate. It was a little bit more one-on-one. So we had this tent, and so they would come into the tent, and I would get to talk to them, do their card pull, learn a little bit more about what they do in the field of OT, what interests them in entrepreneurship, and then we were able to pull the card and put a little meeting behind all of that. And they had the opportunity to then book a call with me after the conference. And so you can see how it's integrated in the funnel in some different ways, but this is like another different kind of way of doing a type of public speaking where you're getting yourself out there. It's a little bit more like networking, but at the same time, it's not because I was seen as the authority. And really, when we're talking about being on a live stage, a lot of it is really about how you carry yourself. It's really about that concept of being the authority in the room, of everybody else in the room viewing you and being like, wow, like she knows what she's doing. Like she knows what she's talking about. That's inspiring, right? We want them to feel inspired. We want them to feel like you're the expert in the room. And so you want to give yourself this opportunity to really look and to expand, to think about that. It makes me nervous about being boring. I hate boring talks. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing is like one of the dangers of getting to talk about something that's interesting to you is that when you talk about something that's interesting to you, sometimes you get in the weeds, right? You're like talking about, I mean, I can nerd out all day long about OT, okay? I can talk to you about feeding equipment and dressing equipment and all the different little techniques. I can talk to you about all that stuff. But at the end of the day, is that really interesting to anybody else? I mean, probably not, right? Maybe if I get into the different bra putting on techniques, that might interest some. But that's about it. So I know that like there's a certain line of when we're the expert, we've got to find that again, the mind map of the lines and the string back and forth between the pictures. When we when we are looking at something that we know so well, a really, really pivotal skill set is being able to take something that you know so well and being able to connect that to a way of being able to talk to other people about it in a way that's interesting for them. Because you know all of the things. You're the nerd, okay? And it's okay to be the nerd, but also you want to make sure that you're relatable. And that's where, like yesterday in the nonstop call, we really got to talk about what creates that relatability, what creates the interesting talk, how do we prepare a talk like this? What does that look like? We went into all of like the ins and the outs of the how. Because obviously, somebody who is all in on their business and they're ready to come into like nonstop and be the kind of person and they're ready to step up in that kind of way, right? They're ready to be on those stages. And some of them might not think that they are yet, but they are. They are ready to start stepping into that next level of them, that next level in their business. And in order to be able to do that, it means tying down some more of the hows. But right now, when we're at this stage, right, and you're, not ready for that client attraction program yet, right? When you're in here with us, it's knowing that this is the part where you get to dream. This is the part where you get to do the mind map and put all the pieces together. And you're going to eventually want to have some kind of concrete, tangible strategy on how you actually are going to connect the dots of that. And so that's the part that comes next, right? Is getting to go a little bit deeper, is getting to think about it a little bit more so that you're able to really create that expansion piece, right? Because this is what's going to help you really become the person and step into that next level. Now, as we transition here over in just a few minutes, I'm going to be heading over into money making unicorns. We're really going to get into a little bit more of those feelings, right? Really talking about those feelings and understanding what makes a really great talk. Because when we're going to get on that live stage, just like, you guys are talking about, you hate boring talks, you're afraid of being the person that's boring on the stage. We want to really create ways to be interesting, right? And so much of this is our competitive edge. It's us being our true self, that concept of like your true self attracts your true believer. But, I've seen it before and I know, unfortunately, I'm going to see it again. When we get on stage, sometimes we get that freeze motion, right? So like you think you're like, yeah, I could be my true self on stage. It'll be fine. Like I love that. And then you get up there and you talk like a robot because you haven't had the proper training, you don't have the proper strategies in place, and that makes it challenging. So you want to get started on this, brainstorm all the places that you can go and you can speak, but I also highly recommend looking at what is your next step for support in actually becoming the kind of person that's going to be able to show up and do this, that's going to actually be able to get on the stage and hold the audience because it's not just about finding the stage and being accepted to get on the stage. It's about crushing it when you're up there, right? If you get on that stage and you don't know how to hold the room, you don't know what to say, you don't know how to keep them interested, you can't keep them engaged, everything else was for nothing, right? I mean, I guess the serve is that you're going to learn a lot of things in the process, right? But we know it's not the things that you necessarily wanted to learn. And so I highly recommend as you're doing the research on this and you're putting these pieces together, you're also going to challenge yourself to become that person and get that next step to get where you want to go. And in this case, really, this bump up step for you, maybe you're the kind of person and it's like rocket, like go over to nonstop. Nonstop's going to give you everything that you need to be able to also tie in your funnel. Because here's the thing, when we get on these stages, you don't want to just go talk on the stage and hope that people talk to you afterwards and that's how you close a client. That's not how that works. We want to get everybody in that room into our funnel one way or another. And you get to decide what the best way of that's going to be. But that's where having your unicorn funnel built out instead of nonstop notifications is going to be really helpful for you because you're going to know, I mean, your unicorn funnel really in a lot of ways is exactly what I was talking about with all the pictures and the string, right? That's a funnel. We want to have everything connecting. And so you want to understand specifically how does this event connect into the funnel, and it's got to be more than one way. It's got to be intentional and specific, and you really want to have this dialed in. That was something like when I joined Nonstop, I knew nothing about unicorn funnels. I mean, people said the word funnel, and I was like, I mean, I don't even know what to think that that means. Like, I had literally no idea. And Nicole taught me everything that I know about funnels. And it's funny because, I joined Nonstop. It'll be 5 years in July. So it's coming up really fast, which is crazy. There's a video in there of Nicole talking about the funnel, and I asked the question and I was like, I did the thing. She's talking about the module one. So she's doing a module one bonus, right? And I was like, I did the thing. I did the funnel, but like I don't know, like what's it supposed to look like? And she's laughing on the video because like I don't know. I literally didn't know. And it's different inside of Nonstop. It's a different kind of approach to it. And that changed everything, being able to learn that. And so if you're ready to really have that kind of rocket growth and you're like, I want to do this, like I'm all in on my business, I want to speak on stages, I'm ready to be the entrepreneur that I said I wanted to be, I want to have those results and I want to close clients and I want to make money, then like that is for you. If you're like, I don't know, Liz, I kind of want to make some money, but like, I'm not really sure. I'm a little bit uncomfortable making a decision and going all in, then head to Money Making Unicorns because when I go into this next training here in just about 2 minutes, I'm going to be talking a little bit more in depth about the talk, about how to be interesting, about how to create that kind of affinity and like being the kind of person that people want to listen to, where they're not like zoning out, where they're not like on their phone scrolling while you're talking. How do you command the energy of the room? And so we're going to be talking about in that in there because obviously when you know how to command the room, you're going to be able to make more money, being that money making unicorn that you've always wanted to be. So if you're ready to make more money, go into Money Making Unicorns where you will learn all of those details of the next step of how to implement this. But for now, go dream big. Okay, go dream big. Think about all the stages that you could be talking about or talking on so that you can then think about what the next best step is for you to actually launch this into the world, to create that impact and that ripple that you have dreamt of making for so long. Before I hop off, guys, I do want to share with you guys. I'm sure you've heard it through a little bit here. But we have Nicole's book is going to be launching very, very soon. And so as a part of this book launch, we also want to ask you to go ahead. I'm gonna have Nicole, if you're still on here, if you can pop it into the chat there, Amanda. I don't know if Amanda was able to hop on today. Amanda's out visiting her mom, enjoying her empire. So if Nicole can pop it in, we have sowthatwhat.org. If you can hop in there and go apply, you have an opportunity to enter to win an incredible giveaway. Go to the page, it's going to give you all the details. And also, you're going to have this opportunity to really be a part of this massive So That What movement. This is all going along with Nicole's book and really being able to lean into and change the entire trajectory of what our world is looking like when it comes to domestic violence. Okay, so domestic violence is something that, it's more than just even domestic violence. It's the opportunity to speak out. It's the opportunity to feel safe. It's the opportunity to feel like you're not alone, to feel like you can enter a room of other people and feel like you are accepted and you can be part of that. And so I want to encourage you guys to join in that movement. And yes, you get to be a part of the book team in doing this. So go and click on the link that Nicole just put in the chat for you guys. This is something that is, a complete community of building and connecting and expanding and really making a difference in the world. So if you're somebody who is interested in making a difference in this world and being part of something that is much bigger than you and me and Nicole and Wonder World, it's much bigger than all of that. Go and click on that link. Go fill out the application on there. And we'll see you guys on the book team inside of that Telegram chat here real soon. All right, guys, I got to hop over to that training and money making unicorns. So get out there, go and check out what you could be doing, what stages you could be talking on and talking to, who you would talk to on these stages. And as you get out there, go do all the wonderful things so that you can make the impact that you came here to create.